Well, this is jarring as fuck, wasn't it? I'm John Renton with my review of the China documentary on Vice. There's a lot to unpack here. I got a lot of notes, so this review may end up going long. Please let me know your thoughts on this documentary in the comments, please. And I want to say before I go too far, in the interest of full disclosure, though those who have watched the channel for a while will know, I've never been the biggest China fan. I have my own reasons for that, just some people appeal to me and some people don't. But I went into this documentary with an open mind, while fully recognizing that, being the first woman to win the Intercontinental Championship, being the first woman to compete in the Royal Rumble, pose for Playboy, do all the stuff she did in wrestling in a short window. I mean, if you think about it, as far as her WWE run, it was only 4 years, and she accomplished a lot. She really did, and she broke a lot of barriers. She proved that you didn't have to be, a stereotypical, prototypical, buxom blonde or just like a tiny girl with an hourglass figure. You could be strong and powerful and beautiful, and you could be all this, and you could show that women can compete with men. And, for good, bad, or indifferent or whatever, Chyna did a whole lot in wrestling, and this was, shown in various clips and everything, and with various interview pieces from some people that made some really good points. And in the case of one, really made some shockingly good points. And also, I just want to say right now, Triple H looks really bad in this, but then again, we've known about Triple H, sleeping with Stephanie and sleeping his way to the goddamn top and breaking Chyna's heart when he just could have been goddamn honest. I mean, sure, the breakup still would have been bad, but maybe Chyna would have been able to continue in WWE for a while, and then they probably would just have effectively buried her, but we wouldn't have gotten Chyna in New Japan. But man, it's really sad to see how her life spiraled out of control with the alcohol and drug abuse and stuff like that and everything and all that. And it really is sad. That stuff's tackled in here. And also, her former manager, Anthony, is a goddamn piece of shit and exploitative scumbag. And that guy's gonna fucking rot in hell for what he did. And man, he looks really fucking bad here. I wanted to fucking slap the goddamn guy. He was really, really fucking shitty. Yeah, fuck that goddamn guy for exploiting Chyna, and fuck the fact that he thought he could make money off of, her being not in a very good state, because you see this later footage of Chyna, and she wasn't in a very good state. Sometimes she would be, and then, oh yeah, there was one member of the crew that was also a goddamn piece of shit. Eric, yeah, that guy was a fucking goddamn idiot. There was one good member of the crew that helped her by doing yoga with her and stuff like that, but yeah, there were some good people in this, but man, she really got a raw deal from WWE. She really did. And no, I don't mean just because she was featured on WWE Raw. She really got a raw deal from the goddamn company. They should have inducted her in the Hall of Fame well before. And it's a damn shame that she wasn't inducted while she was still alive. So the documentary opens up with raw footage, and Foley talks about seeing Chyna in Nashville. That was when she showed up in Ragdoll Terry Runnels. And I remember seeing that and thinking, okay, I don't know who this is. Is Terry okay? Is Terry going to be in one piece? I expected Terry's, top half to just fly off. Just from her, just from her stomach on up, just fly off. Because Chyna just could do that. She was so much bigger than the other women. That's not knocking. It's true. That's how she stood out. And Terry's being ragdolled, and Foley even said, his wife said, she's going to kill Terry Runnels. She's going to tear her apart. Tear her apart, if you will. Billy Gunn talks about, holy cow, that's probably the most impressive girl I've ever seen. And Billy Gunn, Chyna had, some good rapport from my understanding. And, they had some good times in DX and stuff like that. Vince Russo and Mick Foley were the ones that came across the best in this goddamn documentary. I mean, there were a couple members of her family that did. Vince Russo, I'll never forget the first time I saw Joni. She was stunning. That's the only word I could think of. And he was a true friend to her. He did talk to her and was trying to get her into the Hall of Fame and trying to get her story out. And those podcast clips and the full interviews have been out. And I will say, as somebody that is not a Vince Russo fan at all, I don't really care for the guy one fucking bit. I will say that at least he seemed genuine when it came to talking to Joni and trying to talk to her like she was a real person. So even though I'm not wearing a hat, I will tip my hat to him for that. Foley said no one had ever seen the likes of her before, and in my mind, we haven't seen the likes of her since. And he's right. I mean, sure, you have your Beth Phoenixes, you have your Victorias, you have your women that have, that are muscular, that are different than the stereotypical, prototypical women that WWE might just want to feature as, just TNA, so to speak. And no, I'm not talking about the team that Trish managed, because Trish actually, improved in the ring and everything. But my point is, Chyna broke the mold. She truly did. She had that look. And I mean, they may have tried to do the same thing when they brought Nicole Bass in. That didn't necessarily work. But Chyna broke the mold as far as being a trendsetter and how she was perceived on WWE TV. It's just a shame it didn't last longer. Billy said, wrestling guys and wrestling her was really no different, except she hit a lot harder than the guys because she had to lay her shit in. Says, I did like the one inclusion of this line because I'm a dirty-minded individual and I just couldn't help it. But JR having a line, look at Chyna with a forearm to Mr. Ass. Mr. Ass. The Attitude Era. Some things do not, age all that well. They go over accolades, being the first woman to compete in the Royal Rumble, eliminate Mark Henry, and then get eliminated by Steve Austin. Wouldn't be the only time Steve Austin hit a woman, but he's in the Hall of Fame, but Chyna isn't. And then, winning the Intercontinental Championship. She did a whole lot of stuff. She did a lot of really good things and, really, really big moments. The stuff she did with Eddie was fucking tremendous. I wish they'd gone to that a little bit more, but it's only a 2-hour program. Shame on Triple H. He broke her heart. If he had just been fucking honest, because people, I'll discuss that a little bit later, but if people, when you fall out of love with somebody or you fall in love with somebody else, if you're just honest with the goddamn person, yes, nobody wants to be that person to break somebody's heart. But sometimes you can actually help somebody move on with that if you just up and leave them or you just have them find out a certain way. And trust me, this is coming from somebody that has been on the giving and the receiving end of relationships like that. Not obviously to this degree, but relationships where you don't want to end it. You don't want to be that person. Sometimes you got to be that person. And even if it seems cruel, then that person can maybe move on. But yeah, Triple H broke Chyna's heart. And then the stuff, the company giving her a raw deal and everything, and then basically ignoring her. Yeah, that was really good. That's really good stuff. They got a whole bunch of other people in the Hall of Fame, but they ignored Chyna. So anyway, I'm not saying Chyna was a saint. Chyna had her issues. Chyna had a lot of drug and alcohol abuse issues and stuff like that. Stuff that had, likely been from her past and everything, and stuff that just got, enhanced after she left WWE. There's no doubt that she had her demons. There's no doubt that she was no saint, and I don't think she ever said that she was, but she was not given the help that she needed, the support system that she needed, and this did open my eyes to seeing just how many people did exploit her. And did she allow herself to be exploited? Yeah, maybe, but she was also trying to make money. She was also trying to survive. But anyway, WWE, basically erased her. They've done that to quite a few people. It annoyed a lot of people, and I mean that's understandable. But I know Joni is Joni. I don't want to know her as Chyna because as Chyna, she went to a dark place that she never really got out of. And then we cut to this is the one issue I had with it, besides the fact that Anthony, her manager, deserved to be fed to a goddamn pool of sharks. And I'm not talking about Sharknado. I'm talking about actual sharks, not animated ones. This is my only issue with this. Now, apparently the footage was cobbled together because they were filming it and then Chyna died during the filming and everything. And then there were a whole bunch of legal issues that ended up with this footage kind of being lost to time and then being, brought back with new interview pieces and stuff. But the timeline, it would jump all over the place. It would go from 2015 back to, 1995. And it would do this. And there's nothing wrong with jumping back and forth in time. But this got really, really jarring. Really goddamn jarring. Chyna been living in Tokyo for the last 3 years, and then back to LA soon. She's, she's tired of the misconceptions and judgments, and I will fully admit that I was part of that. I was one of those that, and this was well before I started a YouTube channel. I was guilty of that, and regardless of somebody's life choices, I really shouldn't have been like that. And I'll get into Triple H's just, comments or whatever on the Stone Cold podcast and everything before the Broken Skull Sessions came up. Goddamn Jesus H. Christ, son. Anyway, I will get into that a little bit, but I just want to say, I fully recognize that sometimes, seeing, peeling back the layers on the onion, peeking back behind the curtain, Chyna was not put in a place where she really could have succeeded, and she was not given the help that she needed. Ultimately, you do have to go to rehab for yourself, but people were not encouraging her enough, it seems. Anyway, in 2015, Chyna and her manager set out to make plans for a documentary called The Reconstruction of Chyna. Yeah, her manager is a fucking goddamn piece of shit. Fucking hate the guy. I ever meet the guy, I'm gonna scream at him. Her family deserves to, have justice for what he fucking did with her ashes, and don't worry, I'm gonna talk about that. He did say, and it's all over the place. He tries to act like, oh, you get inspirational and everything, and then she does this, and this is just ridiculous. You got to be you, and you know what? Got to be you. Only you know what you've been through. And Chyna passed away during filming, and we get road trip footage and we get stuff like that. The guy Eric is a goddamn pile of trash. Also, I mean, yeah, sure, there's addiction, but he encouraged her to continue using, and there's really seemingly only one good person on the goddamn crew. At least one really good person. Chyna wants to do things the right way. She talks about her her alcohol abuse and stuff like that. Anthony wants to help her spiritually. Yeah, sure, no, he wants to look good on camera. But wants to get her back into Comic Cons and stuff like that. And she seems happy. She seemed happy starting in wrestling, but, there were a lot of hardships. And there are. Traveling on the road is goddamn difficult, even for indie wrestlers, but especially when Chyna, she rose to success really goddamn quickly. You take a look at where she was being the bodyguard in 97. Take a look at where she was by mid-98. She was already, being, put in matches and stuff like that, and we'll talk about some of that a little bit later. Footage of 1995 of her training, old promo footage, which was really nice to see. I did like how they got a hold of that. So we talk a woman named Kathy, Chyna's sister, who, she felt that people looked at her because she was different. Chyna, that is, Joni. And that she did look different. And she did. She had a striking look from the beginning. Especially once she got into her teenage years, and then she realized she was encouraged by other family to work out and stuff like that, and she transformed her body. She got confidence and stuff like that, but was still looked as weird, as not feminine, as masculine and stuff like that. And she had a striking look. She looked different than other women, and that's not knocking. That's just facts. I mean, you take a look at Chyna, and then you say put Ivory. You put Ivory, even though Ivory is in great shape. You would see there's a difference there. Her, Jerry, her ex-boyfriend, he was supposed to help her get ready for a fitness competition. They started dating, and apparently they blossomed a relationship pretty quickly. And he, he noticed that she wanted to get into wrestling. She said, I want to explore this. She trained with Killer Kowalski, who I always thought looked like a caricature of a mobster. But Killer Kowalski, one of the legends of, pro wrestling, trained, various people. I mean, he helped train Kazarian, for God's sakes. I believe he helped train Triple H. He trained a whole bunch of people. And we see, her wrestling and not in front of a lot of people, but we see footage of, indie shows and stuff like that. Just these, training shows. Everyone starts somewhere, and hey, she had something where she was, fighting the women and stuff like that, but she could compete against the guys. Joni had no idea what the pro wrestling underbelly was about, and that's true. And unfortunately, some people can handle it well, some people can't. We get to Garden City Comic Con in New York, or was it New Jersey? Again, all over the fucking map here. Documentary footage. Anthony is at odds because he sees this as his big ticket to success because he's a fucking piece of shit. So we get the signings. Foley's there. Foley's a goddamn saint here. Foley really appreciated Chyna, and he was happy to see her back in the limelight, but he wasn't sure she was able to handle it. Chyna was talking to Russo, there's only one Chyna, one, and it's you. And we see more footage from that podcast. How she was, she basically did a lot for how people perceive women in the wrestling business. And then we go to 1995 footage in Daytona Beach, where she's doing more wrestling. Jerry talks about how she wanted to become the bodyguard of Triple H, and that Triple H and Shawn went to Vince. Triple H in particular said to Vince, I need this. I feel like I'm paying my penance with the curtain call, and she got hired. Vince, we get, Vince basically, well, let's see. Vince didn't really like big girls, and we see women being exploited and stuff like that, where the timeline was all over the goddamn map. And then, Chyna was born, and she started seeing Triple H sometime after, and Jerry was like, I need to not be selfish, and she needs to go be famous. He kind of wondered if she'd stay with Jerry if it would have worked out. DX was formed, the Attitude Era, and all that stuff, and, the Attitude Era. And then, they talk about Chyna's relationship with Triple H. And it seemed like they were, pretty good. But we get footage of Howard Stern, and Howard Stern clips here really don't paint him in the best light. And let's be fair, Howard Stern, is controversial to say the least. Karen, says she was loyal to him. She was very much in love with him. Kathy said, I think he liked her the way she was. Critics knocked her look. I mean, the jawline that she actually had to have jaw reconstruction surgery to make it look more feminine, make her face look more feminine. Get implants, this kind of stuff, which isn't healthy. I mean, if you want to do it, go ahead. Man or woman, I don't care. I don't care if you transition, if you want, whatever gender you are, whatever walk of life. I don't care. But people being forced to do it, women especially in wrestling in general, is fucking bullshit. No matter what you look like. Doing it for yourself is one thing. And we get footage of the Nation holding down Chyna. Put her on her knees where she belongs. Oh, the Attitude Era has not aged well at all. Russo talks about the pressures of plastic surgery, people getting plastic surgery and stuff like that. And while not a fan of Russo, he's right. We had Howard Stern footage, so it was about you looking more like a woman. Ha, geez, Howard, you goddamn, frode idiot. So anyway, so she basically, won a number one contenders match and was actually going to face Stone Cold Steve Austin at SummerSlam 99. There was talk about putting the title on her. I'm not necessarily saying that they should have done it, but if they were going to do it, Chyna was about the only one they could do it with. And it would have worked ultimately. I mean, it would have worked only for a few weeks, but it would have been interesting. Maybe you could have done like a four-way. Stone Cold, Chyna, Mankind, Triple H, and had Chyna pin Mankind. And then that would have worked. Because let's be perfectly honest, at that point, Mankind was broken down and he could have taken a loss with a low blow and stuff like that. But anyway, she didn't win that. It says you cannot have an intergender match if it isn't believable. But with Chyna, it was believable. And Russo's right. I feel bad. I feel weird saying Vince Russo's right. Heartbreaking when the worst person you know has made a point. Russo isn't the worst person I've known in wrestling, but goddamn. I see title win, with Jeff Jarrett talking about how women need to be in their place. Oh dear. Again, the Attitude Era. Create a lot of buzz. She got, she got a lot of attention after that. Her mom, who had not seen her in a while, and they talk about that a little bit later, saw her, it's like, holy crap, I haven't seen her in 27 years. Anthony was a massive dick. Have I mentioned that? I want him fed to a freaking, pit full of rabid piranhas. Rabid piranhas, that's frightening. That's frightening as the movie Piranha in 2010. Anyway, so, basically he exploited Chyna. That's really all it was. There was a massive swell at this time for Chyna to get more buzz, more, stuff like doing the Playboy spread, and that sold really well. She made more money doing Playboy than she did in her time doing WWE, which is saying something, or at least as far as her downside guarantee or stuff like that. I'm not sure. She probably got over $1 million. Sable got over $1 million. Sable got over $1 million to show that. Great. So suddenly we shifted to her facing women, which competition just wasn't there. Nothing against women. It just wasn't level compared to what she was doing with the men. The relationship with Triple H goes tits up, basically, because he was seeing Stephanie. He was sleeping his way to the top, because that's what Triple H did. Now, sure, he's done good in NXT, poaching people from the indies to look like the dad of, NXT. So, anyway, Howard Stern with Triple H. Well, Steph was more feminine, unlike Joni. Gee, Howard. Glass houses. Anyway, JR wanted to keep her, but she wanted to basically be cut loose unless she was paid $1 million a year. Now, I don't think Chyna was worth $1 million a year, even though they were doing great business. I'd say $500,000 a year, because you could have had her in the mix in the women's division and stuff like that, and maybe you could have put the Intercontinental title back on her. They did in 2000. They skipped over quite a bit of the stuff. But Russo even said she would be the last. She'd be the last one to have an ego when she had every right to have an ego, and she was fired by fax while in a deli. Did Vince have drones or weird little nanites looking around oh, we got to report to Vince, I got a little nanite. Vince nights. Anyway, Chyna's last interview footage, April 3rd, 2016. She was not really doing that well. They kind of repeated this a little bit later. Santa Monica, California, 2001. Hogan heard one of those words differently. I'll let you figure out which one. And she left WWE, got an apartment there. She couldn't use the Chyna name no more, but she was Joni, Chyna Doll Lore. Acting gigs didn't really go well. Russo footage of the substance abuse issues. Russo, I will say again, came across pretty damn good here. Relationship with Waltman was formed, and Diesel even said they weren't good for each other. They weren't. They weren't at all. They weren't. And Waltman came clean about that and admitted that he was not good for her, she wasn't good for him and stuff like that. But he took responsibility. I'm going to give him that. I got to give him that there. And he's taken responsibility in the past, so credit to him. A lot of people wouldn't do that. Tokyo 2002. She went to New Japan. Inoki and Chono. They got Chono for this. Man, I feel bad for Chono. Only because, like, this one's proud guy, and I mean, I think he's had a lot of health issues and stuff like that. But Inoki's there, with, his Chin co-starring Antonio Inoki. And then Chyna, facing Chono in the dome. And the crowd support her. Chono talked about how, the intense training and stuff like that, and talked about how she was there for everything, and said that his wife doesn't even watch his stuff, and she was cheering for Joni. And I may have to seek out that match on New Japan World and actually see some of her stuff that she did. But anyway, drug usage, basically because Waltman went with her and snuck, meth and stuff into the country. Great job there, idiot. Waltman's come clean. Sorry, but that's just really stupid to do, especially with a foreign country, one like Japan. They're kind of harsh about that. So yeah, Anthony knew about the drug usage, and knew about it on, while filming and stuff like that. So did everybody else. The sister, was called by Waltman to basically help Joni. The rehab thing didn't work, and she cut the sister out of her life because she felt betrayed. Footage of her drunken on Howard Stern. I saw that at the time. That was sad to see. One Night in China. That's just it's a low moment for people. I mean, whatever you want to do with your life, it's all good. But just, goddamn, that was really, really, it was really sad to see two people in that state. And I don't mean whatever state they were in. I mean just in that particular altered state. Anyway, Waltman, he took responsibility. We get a Vegas trip. She feels detached. She'd been living in Japan for a few years and apparently doing really well being a school teacher. So, Eric did drugs with her during the filming, and they hooked up and everything because Eric taking advantage of somebody. Jeez, goddamn. What is it with people named Eric taking advantage of people in wrestling? Oh, I'm not going to say what. But seriously, that was fucking shitty. Surreal Life and the porn. I'm not going to go over all that stuff. You want to do reality TV, you want to do porn, whatever. You get paid, you get paid. She felt safe. No one could stop her but her, Russo said. And, we hear from Dr. Drew, Dr. Shitbag Drew. And, seriously, he may know quite a bit about drug usage. It's also a bit of a shitbag. So anyway, yes, California dreaming on such a sad day. This really was. The mamas, the papas, the sisters, the mamas, and dramas too. So anyway, early life. We go down to the early life. I don't know why we didn't just start with the goddamn early life. This, again, documentary is all over the place. It's like they just slapped this thing together. But the dad was an alcoholic and a drug addict. Even tried to stabbed the mother with a butcher knife. That's healthy. Anyway, at 16 years old, she got into drugs, went with the wrong crowd, went to live with her dad. Didn't see the mom. We cut to Florida, and Anthony wants her to, basically see her family, but she doesn't want to do it. There's this one guy, Ken, I believe is his name, that was talking. They call him the Japanese Arnold Schwarzenegger. Guy's huge, by the way. Guy's a goddamn mountain. Seriously, they could barely fit him on camera. Anyway, he talked about the New Japan stuff, but also Chyna had talked to him. Joni had talked to him and said that she didn't want to, do this. She didn't want to reunite with her family. Not that she didn't love her family, but she didn't want to go back to that place. That's fine. Her dad died. They basically filmed her throwing flowers on the goddamn grave and stuff like that and bashing it, because why not exploit somebody? Anthony, you piece of shit. You're going to rot in hell for what you fucking did to Chyna. So anyway, exploiting her. So she was drinking heavily. She cut everyone off. Went to Tokyo in 2011, probably right after the Sacrifice 2011 match, which I don't blame her, working with Karen Jarrett to make me want to flee the country too. But in all seriousness, she becomes a school teacher. She becomes part of a Mormon chapter there, gets baptized. The Triple H interview on the Stone Cold podcast. Hey, my 8-year-old daughter could go and find out about Chyna and then go on the internet and find images of her and everything. Okay, so let's just have a little bit of a sidebar right here. Sonny's in the goddamn Hall of Fame. Sonny had done the porn. Sonny had done a whole bunch of stuff. Been in rehab numerous goddamn times and done a whole bunch of other shit and everything and knocked a whole bunch of women when she looked like a pile of Arby's roast beef left out in the goddamn sun on the surface of Mars for goddamn ever. Sunny, who did love wrestling, who, yes, did have her issues and did probably get used up a whole lot, and they went in favor of Sable, even though Sable didn't give a goddamn shit about the business. Sunny has done it. How many goddamn things, did porn, all that stuff, was inducted in 2011 Hall of Fame. They had no problem with that. But oh no, Triple H, because he knows that Chyna would probably have said something, because I bet you Chyna knew a lot about Triple H's skeletons in his closet, because I bet you he has them. Because you don't cut somebody off like that, even if you don't, necessarily like them. Triple H got Ultimate Warrior to come back to WWE after Ultimate Warrior squashed him, and Ultimate Warrior did shit a lot worse than Chyna ever did, in and out of the goddamn ring. But oh no, you can't bring Chyna back, because the kids might see shit on the goddamn internet. Triple H, who slept his goddamn way to the goddamn top. But oh no, you could find stuff on the fucking internet. Yeah, Triple H, you can find a lot of shit. You can find you fucking a goddamn mannequin. They could find you saying to Booker T, people like you shouldn't be champion, or someone like you shouldn't be champion. Oh, people like you are here to make people like me laugh. Why don't you dance or fetch me a towel? Yeah, they could learn a whole lot from Triple H. Maybe we should tear another quad and he could get a little more sympathy from that. Anyway, but Russo makes another point. He says, do we really need to go over the list of convicted felons who are in WWE Hall of Fame, people who've been accused of murder? He's right. He's fucking right. Russo's right. Again, goddamn. Whew. Yeah, now I'm fired up here, because things are picking up a little bit here, because now I'm getting mad. And again, it's coming from somebody that's not even a big Chyna fan. That's fucking shitty. That they did that to her. I understand she needed to get her life clean and stuff like that and everything. It's actually a shame that DDP wasn't able to maybe, get a hold of her and say, hey, because he fixed Jake Roberts and Scott Hall, two people that we never thought actually would be able to be fixed. It's a shame he wasn't, that they weren't able to come to an agreement and, maybe help her out. It is a real shame. Anyway, Jerry said, she wanted to make it known that she earned that place in the Hall of Fame. And fan or not, she did. They put women that did a lot less in there. Sunny. They haven't put Sable in there yet, because Jesus fucking Christ, who'd want to put Sable in the Hall of Fame. But Russo says, there you're sitting, married to Stephanie McMahon, and in the McMahon Empire, set for life. How dare you? My God, heartbreaking when the worst person you know has made a really good point. She disappeared for years. She cut people off and stuff like that. She lived her life in Japan. Foley talked to her about the WWE Hall of Fame, and said, well, don't put too much weight on it. But then we cut to 2015, the WWE headquarters, her and Anthony exploiting the fuck out of her because he's a fucking piece of shit. His parents should be embarrassed that they ever gave birth to him. Well, his mother and his dad should be embarrassed that he didn't pull out. So, anyway, he's a leech, and I'm not talking about the Matt Hardy finisher he uses in AEW. They got kicked out, and she got a few smiles, but really was just treated like she was Glacier, not Blood Runs Cold, like she was an actual Glacier. So anyway, we see footage of, beach yoga and stuff like that, and it seemed like she was having some fun with, one of the crew members, the good crew member was actually trying to calm her down. Foley was happy for her. She was back in California, seeming all happy. But her final interview indicated she was not doing very well. She was on a whole lot of pills, painkillers, alcohol, whole bunch of stuff. Anthony basically was pushing her because he was trying to exploit her and saying, okay, I can get my claws into her and do this stuff. One, to look good for the movie. Dr. Drew says, well, hey, sometimes you can bring up the past, you can revisit your past, and that just makes you want to use more. It's not like ignoring the past, come to grips with it, but also push forward and make sure you get rid of your issues, even though Dr. Drew's a bit of a shitbag. So anyway, he knows his medicine, that much he does. So they were ordering meds from other countries. Gee, that seems good to put on camera. All the pills, but she just didn't want to get seen. She didn't want to get seen by rehab or by a rehab clinic. Anthony wanted the mother to, basically reunite with her on camera in Charlotte for a Comic-Con for exploitation. And the mother wanted to see her, but she didn't want to do that. And then she got a really, really cryptic email from Chyna, basically using words that she's not going to use because Chyna was not in a good place. And she said she wasn't going to go. Chyna lost it. She was all upset. And Anthony was like, she picked him up like this because she was all upset. She's like, "You're fired. I'm not your manager. I'm your soulmate." Oh, God, Anthony. Blow it out your goddamn ass. Jeez, why don't you take double ribs out there? You can pull a Marilyn Manson if you know what I mean. Anyway, she wasn't doing well. They still did the interviews. Eric was high as a goddamn kite. Eric, I hope, is spending time in jail for what the fuck he did. And I don't know if this is current footage or not. Maybe it is. I'm not really sure. Maybe he did some time in, there, and maybe he learned. I don't know. He seemed pretty high in some of these interviews. Anyway, she wouldn't have done, says she wouldn't have done wrestling, even though she says that she did love wrestling. In the following week, she wasn't doing well. Anthony wants to get her help. In the coming week, they were going to do it, and then she was playing a cello at one point. One of the last videos you saw of her. Played cello pretty goddamn good. Really good, actually. And then you never heard from her. Anthony goes to find her, but has a camera crew with him conveniently to film her, and basically for prosperity. Basically, he gets it just to, stroke his own goddamn ego because he has no goddamn life because he's a limp dick little shit. So, the autopsy shows, variation of painkillers, stuff like that, and everything is just fucking bad. So the mother wanted 3/4 of the ashes put in put in the Pacific Ocean, and then, of course, sent to her. Anthony put half in the Pacific Ocean, sent a quarter to her, and kept a quarter for himself because he's an exploitative piece of shit and a goddamn worthless motherfucker that shouldn't have been born. So, let's get into this, because we're almost done here, folks. We're just about done. Yeah, he had a bedazzled urn at a memorial, the worst memorial, just to stroke his own goddamn ego. Eric was charged with possession, distribution of drugs, and the film was lost and everything, and they lost control of the film. I mean, that was pretty obvious. Russo says that Chyna didn't know the impact she had on millions of women. Foley talked about how Chyna was a really good person, but that maybe she wasn't emotionally prepared to be in the land of Oz, that is wrestling and everything. And that's true. And he wasn't knocking her. Some people can't handle it. What is the legacy of Chyna? Complicated. She is somebody that will be remembered for having a tremendous impact on a lot of people, wrestlers, and fans. Am I going to say that I'm the biggest fan of Chyna? No. Am I going to say I have a newfound, appreciation for what Chyna went through? Yes. Did she do some of the stuff to herself? She did. But ultimately, was she, just buried by a whole lot of people? Should WWE have made good and put her in the Hall of Fame? Yeah, they fucking should have while she was still alive. And it's a shame that they couldn't, both sides couldn't come to an agreement. And Triple H, Karma's going to come back to get him. And maybe Stephanie knows some stuff about Triple H and they just want to basically bury Chyna's legacy. But you know what? This isn't going to cause Chyna's legacy to be buried. What do you think of Chyna's legacy? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Redland. I'll see you soon.